to Jake Jackets. Gear up to fire the cannon and hit the ice with your host, Jay Ashdown and Jake Gehringer.
Game recently, and then just kind of like, I don't know, I've got stuff going on with work, I'm working my butt off, and...
Yeah, you are. Jesus, every time I'm talking to you, you're just
I'm
you got
at work or
shift you're working.
Plus, hey, I've got Foo Fighters coming up too.
Oh,
like, dude, I got the big concert coming up.
Yeah. One of my buddies saw Foo Fighters the other day at Citi Field in New York, and they sent me like them playing My Hero, and he sent like a GIF from the. Have you ever seen The Other Guys?
No, that's another show.
Oh my God, it's one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. But like, real stupid quick note, like the whole movie, like when they were like promoting it, like it has Samuel L. Jackson and The Rock.
Oh
And
gosh.
they kind of like presented it like, oh, these two are gonna be a big part of the movies, and they die 5 minutes into the movie because they're chasing after these bad
spoilers
guys.
Whoa.
And this movie came out in 2010, dog. So they jump off of this building, and they're before they do it, they're like, aim for the bushes, and there weren't any bushes. They literally just fell onto concrete. But while they're falling, My Hero by Foo Fighters is playing.
Dude, I can't wait for it to be like 2 a.m. and we're all just sobbing to Everlong at the end of the night. Like,
yeah.
I can't fucking wait. I've been waiting for this ever since Christmas because it was a Christmas present, right?
Yeah. I'm excited for you, dude. It's gonna be a fun time.
It's my first event at Great American Ballpark that's not a Reds game.
So what day is it?
The 25th. It's on my dad's birthday. And I'm not going with sorry, Dad.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. I'll see you later. Oh, man. But we're gonna have fun, and I can't wait. Like, I know it's different because it's John. It's not Taylor.
Yes.
I would have loved to watch Taylor Hawkins perform, but it's Dave. Like, come on, it's Dave fucking Grohl.
Yep.
And I've heard Josh is an awesome drummer anyway. Like, Josh Freese has been killing it.
Good.
So I'm just really excited. Anyway, this is the most July episode that we're ever gonna have.
I don't know. I actually feel like we got a pretty decent amount of stuff to talk about today, even though it is the dog days of summer, isn't it?
Oh yeah. It's weird because like my brain is barely even able to function with work and the heat waves, and then Ohio just being Ohio, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Where did the thunderstorm come from? Dude, that day where we had like hail going through, I was like, what is going on?
And we're dealing with internet issues too.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Thanks, Spectrum.
Well, I'd actually like to start off with this isn't your first note, but dude, we're going into our 4th season of doing this.
This is crazy, man.
It is kind of nuts. Like when you hear the number 4, like this is a presidential term of what we've been doing here.
I looked. It's funny because I looked on like this past Tuesday when we're recording this, and the day of recording this is on a Sunday. It's been 3 years, like to the day, that our first episode came out.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy because like when we released that first episode, we were talking about the Seattle Kraken, who are heading into their 4th season. What are they going to look like? What players are they going to get? The surprise of them not taking Vlad Tarasenko when they had a chance, and all that stuff. So, like looking at where we're at now, when we started and we were looking hopeful for the Blue Jackets, and seeing how things have gone downhill ever since.
Yeah.
But
woo, baby.
remain.
Man, we're gonna hit episode 150 before too long.
Like heading into season 4, and this will be the first season without Jeff Rimmer. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy, like how much turnover you see in even just a matter of 3 years. 3 years ago we traded Seth Jones to Chicago,
Mhm.
and at that trade, and you're like, oh my god, Jake Bean's gone, Adam Boqvist is gone. Like a lot can happen in 3 years.
We've gone through how many coaches now?
But that depends on how you look at it. We went through 2 years of Brad Larson. We went through one introductory press conference of Mike Babcock.
I guess. And then threw Pascal Vincent into the fire. Like,
and when we went through 1 year of how the hell is he in his 50s, Pascal Vincent? I mean, it's been crazy, isn't it?
and I just want to take this time to be like really thankful, right? Because I mean, I couldn't have done this without just reaching out to you and just being like, do you want to do a stupid podcast together?
If you weren't willing to do all the shit that you do. So
I mean, it was just.
I appreciate you taking the time to give me credit, but oftentimes you give me far too much credit.
I don't know, man, because like I would just kind of lose my mind if I didn't have somebody else to talk to about this shit.
God, after these 3 seasons, you'd go insane talking about this on your own. Oh my lord!
I would have reached Steve status by now. Like if it was just.
Yeah, there's just no other way.
And like I consider you one of my best friends, especially
Likewise.
after everything.
Yeah.
And we're digging through the trenches together. We found a podcast network these people have been some of the best people that we've ever interacted with.
Oh yeah, there's like a whole bunch of really cool people from this, and several of our listeners are really cool. All 5 of them.
Everybody's been great.
Like, everybody who listens, like we appreciate it. Like we've had a lot of really cool interactions with people over the years, and it's been great. And not only are we heading into our 4th season, but we're heading into our 11th season as friends of this team.
Yeah.
It was the 13-14 season that first came together, and now we're heading into the 24-25 season.
It's crazy. It's nuts. But I do kind of want to thank, like, specifically Jeremy and Laura, subjectively speaking, for showing us THPN. Neil being a big help in connecting us with Kyle and Dylan to be able to join.
Yes.
Obviously Jimmy, we need to have Jimmy on our show now that I've been on his. He's
absolutely
a great friend.
Get it done.
Obviously you introducing me to Alex, and having him on the show before. And then we've been trying to get bigger and bigger industrial guests, like between the organization. We've had, we started with Mike Todd. We go to Jeff Svoboda, getting Dylan Tyre, like.
And hopefully we'll see what we can do for 150.
Hopefully we can have a big one for 150.
A lot.
But like, just I know it's only been 3 organizational guests so far, but like they've just been getting better and better.
Yeah.
And they're all stand-up people.
Yeah.
They're like, gosh, I'm just thinking back to when we chatted with Dylan and having that chirp fest over Spo.
Well, what was also funny, I remember back to, is I literally talked to, I don't know if you remember this, when I was talking to Dylan Tyre, like we talked about Steve Mears on that podcast.
Oh, that's right.
And then he ends up getting the job not long after.
Yeah, now that Mears
did I manifest that? I'm not saying, but some people are.
Right. But I want to shout out, obviously Jimmy, Zach, Lance, Jerome, our Vegas Fever fam. We've got so many shows on this network now that we're like at over 100 shows,
Yep.
and we're just happy to be a part of it.
Yeah. It's their world. We're just living in it, but we're grateful for it.
Dylan and Kyle have been the best management team that I think we could have asked for.
Yeah. We're definitely lucky with them.
Because they are crushing the growth of this network.
Yeah. It's very impressive.
I didn't even get to mention that, like, we have, through the network channel, there's our own little, not only do we do the watch parties, we have a show with Terry fucking Ryan.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Go check out some Tales of TR. I could probably link some in the thing up here. And obviously TR is awesome. Like,
oh god, yeah, of course. Terry fucking Ryan.
We should try to just get TR on at some point. Yeah. Anyway, because I'm sure that could be something.
So, like the last 3 years have been, us kind of sitting around talking and trying our best to be patient.
Yeah.
And patience is going to be a theme of this podcast, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Dude, are you kidding? After the last couple that we had with all my internet issues, I think patience is the name of the game.
It is. And the two things that Blue Jackets fans are currently not very patient with right now are the coaching search and the status of Kirill Marchenko.
Yeah.
Which one do we want to hit first?
I think Marchie's going to take just a second. Because I feel like we go through this every year.
Yeah.
Especially with Russian players. Like Minnesota went through that with Kaprizov. Here's the thing with restricted free agents, right? They're still property of the organization until really they're not.
Yes, like I'm not concerned about us not having a deal yet with Kirill Marchenko. The GM just showed up. He's got a lot on his plate right now, specifically the coaching search. I think we can be a little patient with him trying to figure out what's the best course of action with Kirill Marchenko.
The Dawn just got here. You're right.
I think we would prefer it to be a long-term extension, and I don't think that they're going to be against that. But the only thing that I think could prevent that is if they feel the number is just a little too high for what they've seen so far. But the funny thing is what you risk is if you give him a bridge deal and he has another great season, okay, that's great, but that just means the price goes up.
That's more of that, yeah. Because I know they just signed Chinny to 2.
And to be honest with you, yes. And that's not surprising to me because Chinakov's been a bit up and down, more up than down lately. I thought last year was pretty good, but the 2 previous years were a little tough to gauge. Whereas Marchenko, the second he came up, he's been phenomenal since he's come up.
He's lights out.
What the other thing that I think that people aren't paying attention to in this is I actually don't think we're going to get much on Marchenko until we find out what's the deal with Line. I think those two things are connected.
Fair. That's fair.
Because you want to see, like, okay, what's the deal with Line? What's our next step? Once you make that next step, how much cap space are we getting from this?
So here's the problem, right? First of all, Russian players go home all the freaking time.
Yeah.
Like, that's the obvious thing.
Yeah.
Right? We're not going to lose him to the KHL because he's just going home for the summer. That happens.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at what's going on with the tourney going on in Russia between KHL All-Stars and NHL players right now. How cool is that, by the way? Like,
I think it's really cool. I saw I didn't see the clip, but I saw apparently like Panarin did something absurd.
Panarin did something absolutely lacrosse crazy, and like Chinny and Vrani connected on something like. because of course they did.
Yeah.
So like, I didn't even know this was a thing. Is this the first year they're doing this?
Maybe. I mean, I've never heard of it, so I'm gonna guess that maybe it is, but who knows? Maybe this has been something that's been going on for a while that we just haven't paid attention to because
I was gonna say Brett and Ovechkin connected on a big goal because of course they did. Um. So anyway, yes, Marchie going home isn't the problem, right? The thing that's more concerning is the fact that he's ARB eligible, and we don't know when that date's gonna be.
Yeah.
And obviously, with arbitration, we tried to talk about this before. It's a really ugly process.
Yeah.
I believe the meeting crashed before we got into what arbitration is.
Yeah, arbitration is an ugly process where teams basically have to bring to the table the issues with the player so they can try and get the price down.
Right, and the player has to talk themselves up and trash talk the management for why they're being so cheap.
It's not a fun process. You don't want to go to that because there have been arbitration cases settled where players stay and then maybe they don't stay long term. It's just it can be a short term fix, but I mean this is not a situation. I feel like look, if you can't come to an agreement on a long term deal, I'm certain that you can certainly come to a bridge deal that comes in at a higher price than whatever you would do for a 1 year deal through arbitration or whatever. So I just it's a process you want to avoid. And I'll be honest, I'm not massively concerned that it's going to go there.
I hope we don't get all the way there. Case in point, like think about our Bruins buddies and Jeremy Swayman right now because they're freaking out.
That's a concerning situation. I don't think this is a very concerning situation.
See, because what we've seen with Marchenko is obviously he's the premier goal scorer that we've been waiting on, and we thought the Line was going to be that, and he's turning into more of a well-rounded player, which is good to see from Patrick Line.
Yeah, he's obviously a very, very good, talented player. He just hasn't been the superstar.
Right.
We all hoped he would be. And I'm not just talking about Blue Jackets fans. I think NHL fans, after that second season when he dropped 44 goals.
Mm-hmm.
Man, oh man, did it look like this guy was going to set the world on fire. And he's good. He's really good.
Yeah.
He's not a superstar. He's just a really, really good complementary player. And
part of that's injury luck.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I don't think injuries have helped, but I think there's a passiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Like even games that Ovi doesn't score, and I know comparing Line to Ovi is a bit unfair because
the first couple of years it kind of wasn't.
Ovi is Ovi. Like more than anything, Line was compared to Ovi because of like visually, like stylistic
goal scoring prowess, where he's taking his shots.
Yeah. Ovi in games that he doesn't score, like I'm talking about in his prime, not maybe these last 2 years, but in his prime. The guy, if he's not going to score a goal, is going to make the goalie stop at least 4 or 5 shots.
Or go out and just truck somebody, because that dude is a grizzly bear out there.
And he's carrying the puck to dangerous areas. He's using his speed. His speed in his prime was so massively underrated.
Case in point, that goal against the Coyotes where he freaking dove and spun and did it from his legs.
Goal against the Canadiens where he just dragged it through everybody and went between Carey Price. Like he had so many unbelievable moments, like his speed and his prime. But games in which he didn't score, he was still impactful because he was forcing your goalie to make saves.
Right.
And I feel like games that Patrick Laine doesn't score in, he's not taking a lot of shots.
No, and I think
think it has that aggressive nature that Ovi has.
No, well, like part of that was the development of a defensive game, of a playmaking game that he went through over
So
the last year and a
I,
half.
I don't want to I don't want to like poo-poo that point entirely, but this is a feeling that I got at times in Winnipeg. Obviously, when he got here, we were super excited about the potential and the
Mhm.
hope that he's going to become that player once again. And I'm always going to root for Patrick Laine. I like the
Always. And from what we've heard, he's doing fine.
good.
He's still going through player assistance, but like he's training.
Mhm.
Um he's, out there working on stick handling type things.
Yeah,
And so like he's doing work.
he's still an incredibly talented player who's impactful, and I think is do you okay? I'm going to make this is the comparison. Kessel, when you paid him as a superstar and you made him into the number one guy in Toronto, it was a disaster. When the Penguins
Okay.
traded for him and he was more of a complimentary piece, he was fucking unbelievable.
Gotcha. That took me a second.
Like, I think that's what Patrick Laine is. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's
No.
nothing wrong with that. That's a great career to have.
Dude, Kessel could have won and should have probably won a Conn Smythe out of the two.
Yeah, I think he should have. For sure. Like some team I think is going to trade for Patrick Laine and they may turn him into their Phil Kessel. And I hope they do.
Yeah.
But part of recognizing that is just recognizing that for him here, in order for it to work here, he was going to have to be a superstar, and I just don't think he is.
That said, you
And,
know,
and now transitioning back to Marchenko,
right.
I don't know if he's necessarily superstar, but I think that there is a consistency to his game that Line hasn't necessarily shown.
He's a good face to market.
I think so. Like I could absolutely see Kirill Marchenko his five next seasons in Columbus. He scored 30 goals in 4 of the 5 seasons. You know what I mean? Like I
Right.
think he has that level of consistency to his game because he has such a good shot. He's willing to take a lot of shots, which I think is a good thing from your wingers.
Oh yeah.
And the thing that's underrated about Marchenko in comparison to some of these other players on the team that sometimes it's hard to analyze, he's the one guy that I feel over these last 2 seasons has consistently worked with just about any line combination he's been on.
Part of that I think just comes from who Kirill is as a person,
Yeah.
because look at his interviews in the media. Look at him in the locker room. Look at him, going out with the guys,
Mhm.
just on like dinner trips or whatever. The dude has the most infectious smile that
Yeah.
I've seen any of these Blue Jackets players have in a really long time.
Yeah. Fun guy to be around. And I think his game is so like there's nothing complicated about his game.
It's very
He
simple.
he shoots, he scores. Like that's him.
He's definitely like he's got that Geno mantra in the
I
back of his mind, right?
So like I feel like he's actually kind of almost an easy player to play with because he's easy to feed off of because you know what he's going for.
He brings the high energy on and off the ice.
So that's a guy you want to keep around long term. So my hope is that when they get this deal done, it'll
Mhm.
be a long term deal.
Didn't we say that a few months ago? Like, just go ahead and give him 8?
I said give him 8 years, and I said a little under 7. If you can get him at 6.75, I'd do it.
6.9
Nice.
would be pretty nice.
Nylander.
Give him the Willie money.
Hey,
I would be,
if it ends up how Willie Nylander ended up, I mean,
yeah, that's yeah.
maybe that's not a bad comparison either, because I think William Nylander's got a lot of those similar characteristics too.
Yeah, and
At least, and not now, like the early William Nylander, like when he was battling for that contract.
yes, and then when he was under that contract,
Hmm.
he he blossomed into the best part of that core.
He was,
That's not named Austin Matthews.
yeah, like yeah. Yeah, that's a given, you know.
And that's not a slight to, like, I love Mitch Marner, but like Willie had such an infectious game when it came to both sides of the puck.
The dude is the only player of the core four who can say, I I'm not at fault for this playoff
He
loss.
put Not only does he put in the work and you can tell that he puts in the work, but he makes it look like it's so effortless.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And I feel like Kirill's got a little bit of that. So I'm hoping they go long term on him.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. You ever go scrolling through this time of year on your social media, your Instagram, your Twitter, and you're looking at your friends and you're just like, wow, this person's gone to the beach like 3 times within the past couple of weeks, or this one's going to a concert every other weekend.
Yeah.
Like,
And you kind of just sit there wondering, like, how on earth are you affording this?
and I want to do this. All I do is go to work and like spend the weekend just in bed.
Yeah, you take a nap, do a podcast.
Yeah, like I want to do more of these things. And you start comparing and you're like, I want that life, not my life.
Yeah, I turned 25 on the 30th, and I'm literally sitting here like looking at all the other people who are 25, and I'm like, am I ahead? Am I behind? And comparing
Right.
can be a bit of a nasty game.
You look at people's Instagrams and it's all picturesque. It's
Mhm.
never like, it's never that cut and dry
No, never.
because Instagram's just a highlight reel.
It is. It is.
When you think about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Therapy can help you focus on what you want instead of what other people have when you're looking at that kind of stuff. Uh, I've gone plenty of times.
Same.
And it's not just for people who suffer through like major traumatic events. Therapy is something that's really important for anything you can really think of when it comes to like your life being on pause, or
Feeling
if
stuck.
you're stuck, if you need a spark.
Yeah.
um like I've gone when I've had some certain, like, trying to get over a breakup is a
Mhm.
big one that people go through that
Yeah.
therapy
Yeah.
can help
Definitely.
with.
That's
And then like when you just kind of feel like you're in a rut and you can't get anywhere with your job, or
if
something's
you
going
lose a
on.
loved one, like there's a lot of things that, everybody goes through the course of their life that we can all use help with.
Right. um we get coping skills from going to therapy. We get building blocks of organization from going to therapy.
Mhm.
um General things like that that can help organize your brain.
Mhm.
And
They can help you see things from a new perspective too. That's also very helpful.
yeah, like, people love venting to friends, family, coworkers, whatever, just about their day-to-day stuff, but that doesn't necessarily give you a fresh perspective on things,
No.
because don't get me wrong, those people are really important in your life, but they kind of bring too much personal baggage into what they think as well. And
Also, this isn't what they do for a living. So,
exactly.
they're not trained with this. Sometimes it's hard, and they're dealing with their own things too.
Right, we all are. Even the ones
Yeah.
qualified.
Yeah. Funny enough, a
um
lot of therapists see therapists.
right. So if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's on your terms, your schedule. You can do messages, you can do video meetings. It's very flexible that way. And all you got to do to start, you go on the website, you fill out a little questionnaire of what's going on in your life, and then they'll find in their database a match for you with a licensed therapist. And switching, if things don't work out or if things change in your circumstances, it doesn't cost you anything to switch.
Yeah.
So really, BetterHelp truly is kind of helpful. Stop comparing and start focusing with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/THPN today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/THPN.
But the other one that's I think is the bigger conversation is the fact that everybody is freaking out that team doesn't have a coach. And
We're the only team.
For one, would like to say, stop.
Pump the brakes.
Fine. We're fine.
Pump the brakes, guys.
Yeah. It's okay.
Yes. I understand that we are the only organization in the National Hockey League that doesn't have a head coach right now.
But I don't think that fucking matters, to be honest with you. I feel like people are freaking out a little bit over nothing. Now, that's not to say that there's nothing to be concerned about, but I don't think that this is the end of the world by any means. I think it's a
mid to late July, guys. Go outside. Go to the beach.
Yeah, we talked about this in the BetterHelp ad. Just go to the beach. Follow what everybody else is doing. That's the advice we're supposed to give you, isn't it?
We're not qualified to talk about this. That's why you go to BetterHelp. No.
No, but I don't think it's a massive deal. Do we really think that teams right now are working on their power play? Like, no, these guys are out. Some of these guys are back home in Russia or Finland or
Sweden or
hell, maybe they're just home in fucking Toronto or wherever the hell they're from.
Or in Texier's case, France.
Yeah, like you don't know where these guys are. Like, they're not sitting around working on the power play.
Fantilli's been in Italy for like the past 2 months. Like,
jealous. Jealous, absolutely jealous. Like, I just, I think people are freaking out a little bit too much about this. Like, it's a good thing that the Blue Jackets are taking their time in this process. I think they narrowed it down to some good names.
Here's the thing, right? I think guys like Hedger and Portsy, not to disparage Portsy because, I mean, better than Hedge. Anyway,
I like Portsy.
Those two guys are really stirring the pot when it comes to like notifying, and Mark Shig to an extent as well, telling people like, no, we're gonna know later this week. It's been later this week for the past 3 weeks, guys.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I would like.
No, we love Mark Shig. Come on.
Like, no, yeah. For me, more than anything, it's like I'm not going to be too hard on that, only because things change. Right. And the reason I'm not going to be too hard on that is because I think at one point it was supposed to be later this week, and then we found out that they couldn't agree on a price for Todd McClellan.
Right.
So that's a monkey wrench. You're seeing the Foo Fighters. They've talked about this.
One more indecent accident, right?
Exactly. So, does it get a little annoying when you see, oh, it'll happen by this time and then it doesn't happen? Of course, I understand those frustrations. But I don't think that anybody should be freaking out about this because, to my knowledge, it comes down to 4 names that I've heard.
They've interviewed Dean Evason and Jay Woodcroft already.
Yes. So obviously Todd McClellan, who knows? Maybe they circle back. Dean Evason, God, you literally just said his name. Jay
Jay
Woodcroft
Woodcroft.
and Donnie Meatballs.
See, because you said something to me about Alex throwing Granato out there.
Yeah.
I love Alex. I don't know how much I trust that.
I trust it.
I don't know because, like, obviously from before, I've heard that there were, there's a third guy that we don't really know who it is.
The reason that I think that Donnie Meatballs could have a potential shot at this head coaching job is simply because his player development in Buffalo was outstanding.
The
Now,
younger guys did
the
do
results,
extremely well under Don Granato.
they didn't get the results of getting to the playoffs, which is ultimately the goal. And an opportunity presented itself, nostalgia for Lindy Ruff and an experienced head coach and potentially an additional culture shift. I don't know. I
Good
didn't,
luck.
but I guess that's what they're shooting for.
Good
But
luck, Buffalo.
Don Granato, just look at what he has done in Buffalo.
Mhm.
He took the worst contract in the league at the time in Jeff Skinner, a guy who under Ralph Kruger was playing 4 line minutes and just not doing anything.
How many times can we circle back to the Ralph Kruger train? Like,
Yeah. And go back to Southampton, Ralph. Like, so he takes Jeff Skinner, and I know they just bought out his contract for some reason that they didn't
cap
really
space.
they didn't
Cap
spend any
space.
fucking money. Anyway, he took Jeff Skinner and he turned him back into form. Was he a $9 million player? No, but he's never been a $9 million player. He turned him back into a $6.5 million player.
And now Edmonton has him for like 3.
Yeah. So he did good work with Jeff Skinner. He did great work with Alex Tuck when they made the Jack Eichel trade. He did great work with Rasmus Dahlin.
Killed it with Tage Thompson.
Yeah, I was gonna get that in a second. Yeah, Tage Thompson was unbelievable. He completely turned that guy around.
47 goals. What?
Yeah, he turned him into arguably a number 1 center. Rasmus Dahlin's development looked like it was starting to really taper off, and then he got him back on track, and now that's an $11 million defenseman right there.
Exactly.
Hell, even goaltending's been a bit of a bug, but for a while the Sabres were kind of losing faith in UPL. UPL had a good season.
UPL had the best second half I think we've ever seen in the past at least like half a decade.
For the Sabres?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. He was phenomenal.
He was one of the best goalies in the NHL for that entire second half.
He was really good. So like there, with UPL and Devin Levi, there's some hope there, which is, why I don't really necessarily agree with them getting rid of this guy as their head coach. So I know he might not be the most inspiring coach because you look at him as a head coach for Buffalo for 3 years and they didn't make the playoffs. But if you look deeper at a team that was in dire straits not that long ago, there's at least, there's hope with that organization for the first time in a long time. And I think that he has a lot to do with that.
They've been in the gutter for 13 years.
Yes. And in the midst of being in the gutter, the 2 of the 13 seasons that I think were the best seasons were under Don Granato. Now, that might not be worth much to someone who just wants to see the fucking Blue Jackets get back into the playoffs. I get it. But, these things don't happen overnight. And if it happens overnight, more often than not, it's not sustainable.
Don Waddell has only been here for the better part of 2-3 months.
Also, we talk all the time about Don and Dean. What about Don and Don?
The Dons.
Yeah.
The Dons.
Dons, they're coming. And that's gonna be the motivation. It's gonna be the instead of the Dan Campbell bite your kneecaps off, it's gonna be the Dons are gonna come and they're gonna beat your kneecaps.
We're gonna turn your kneecaps into meatballs.
Gonna turn you into a stromboli.
What the fuck was that thing that the Mets just released? Like the ice cream and the donut holes that are like look like spaghetti and meatballs. What have you seen
I have
this?
no idea what you're talking about.
You haven't seen this yet?
No.
Oh my god! It was
The only
like
thing I've seen with the Mets is Grimace.
they've released this new food item that's like it's ice cream and donut holes,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
But it looks like a plate of spaghetti and meatballs.
Okay, I'm all in.
It's
all in.
it's so weird.
I'm all in. Yeah,
It's
I want
very Mets, is all I'm saying.
that's good.
Um,
You spill it on your pants and you're like, oh, look at me. I just made a Mets.
you know, there's a beautiful thing about being a sports fan, and it's not that we totally forgot to record this ad read when we were originally doing the show recording. Oops. It's that there's only 2 days out of the whole 365-day year without anything sports. Only 2 days, guys. That's crazy to me. Like, whoa. Without any games, only 2 days? I can't believe it. Can you? And honestly, you know why we're doing this. We have friends at DraftKings Sportsbook, all thanks to THPN. And with so much happening, they can make it so much more fun. Every day's a game day at DraftKings. So let's take a look at how easy it is for first-timers. Bet on something simple like picking a team to win. Bet on point spreads. Bet on certain amounts of points to go to a certain player, things like that. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook, go to the app, select your team, and place your first bet. Bet on your favorite teams. Jay does it all the time for losses. Oh, so let's take a look at some lines. As we have baseball in full swing. There's everything. There's baseball, there's basketball, hockey, football's coming up here in the next couple of months. They have horse racing, they have tennis, they have so much stuff. So let's take a look. Round the bases parlay. Total bases in last game for Kansas City and Minnesota. Alvarez had 10, Buxton had 8, Duran had 6, and Bobby Witt Jr. had 3. So this is a 4-leg parlay at a plus 1079. Yordan Alvarez, Jarren Duran, Bobby Witt Jr., and Byron Buxton. All of them have to have at least 2 plus total bases. That's a really easy parlay for you to get. And then there's another 5-leg parlay at a plus 2303. Bet on all of these games, 5 of them, to go over their run totals. Let's take a look at the 5 legs. Cincinnati and Atlanta, so my Red Legs and the Atlanta Braves, over 8 runs. The Mets and the Marlins at over 8.5 runs, so 9 or more. St. Louis and Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay and the Yankees, same thing, both 8.5 runs. And Boston and Colorado over 10 runs. That one, Boston's pretty good. Colorado's pretty bad. Can they do it? I think they can do it. It's So take a look at some parlays over on DraftKings. And if you're new to them, you gotta check this out. New customers bet $5 and get $150 instantly in bonus bets. So all you gotta do is download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN That's code THPN for new customers to get 150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours. Now, bear with me for a second. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit in West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort. In Kansas, 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. Deposit and eligibility restrictions apply. See terms and responsible gambling resources at dkng.co/base. So anyway, let's be patient and wait for
All right, enough about the Mets. Let's talk about the Jets. Jet Greaves got a 2-year extension.
You are on one today, my friend.
I am.
Oh, I'm loving this. I'm loving this from you.
Well, the dollar amount is not what matters in this contract. It's the fact that it's a 2-year deal, and year one's a 2-way deal, and then year 2 is 1-way.
One-way deal. Now, just to clean up the coaching thing, let's wait for mid-August.
Yeah.
Right?
August 15th is the date that I have in mind. If they don't have
15th.
August 15th, if you don't have a coach by August 15th, that's when I'll start to actually worry.
Okay.
That gives them
That gives them 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Give or take.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jet gets a 2-year deal. One is a bit of a yo-yo deal.
Yeah.
Where his salary varies between the NHL and the AHL.
Mm.
And then year 2, he would be making the same number regardless.
Yes, and that's important because this is them investing in a guy that I think has actually given himself a future in the organization. He's played well in limited time in the NHL, and he's played pretty decently in the American Hockey League, and I thought that he had a pretty good run in the playoffs. So I think that he has inspired them a little bit to take a look at his potential future here as maybe a future backup option.
So that's the question, right? Is what is Jet Greaves to the Columbus Blue Jackets? That's exactly what he is. He is
a bit of a sad answer. And I don't mean this to be a little morbid, but I think it's actually a fair comparison. I think he's going to ultimately end up being what Matisse was supposed to be.
Oh, no, I'm sad.
Yeah. But you see what you see where I'm coming from on that?
Yeah, because Matisse, ultimately, they gave Elvis the job
When they
right?
gave that extension, yeah. And it was, or no, because they hadn't given him the extension yet. But he was supposed to be the guy. They were in process of we're going to extend Elvis,
Right.
and I think part of what they had in mind was supposed to be backup so they could trade Portby with 1 year left on his deal.
And Daniil Tarasov is looking to be a very, very solid backup option to Elvis / tandem option.
I think he's competing for the #1 job.
Oh yeah, he's definitely going to be competing for the #1 spot this year. He had that late last year.
Yeah. It's just funny because you know what Jet provides to the Blue Jackets organization that Elvis and Daniil don't give the Blue Jackets organization is health. Jet's been consistently healthy these last few years.
You're right.
So he provides a bit of stability in that sense. Because that Elvis has been mired by poor play on top of injuries. Daniil has more so just been injuries.
Yeah, because what was it last year? He had he started the year for the first month
on IR.
on IR.
Yeah.
And then he finally gets into game action against the Rangers and wins.
Yeah.
And then he followed it up with a couple of losses, but like he still looked good.
Yeah, yeah. And down the stretch, he started to look better and a little bit more comfortable. So yeah, it's very
He was one of the brighter spots last year, Terry was.
yeah.
Like I know there weren't a lot of bright spots because we got mired by so many longer injuries.
It's been hell. It's been hell.
It was definitely a hellish season. And we're not even Devils fans.
Which one? Just to wrap it up, I'm excited about this deal because I like what I see from Jet in terms of potential flexibility to maybe be a backup in this organization. I think he's fit for that role.
His name is fucking Jet.
Yeah.
Let this kid take flight. Oh boy. So there were a couple of contract things going on outside of Columbus that everybody's talking about now.
Yeah. Well, the first one I like to talk about is actually Evgeni Kuznetsov.
You want to talk about Kuzi? Or yeah.
Yeah. Because this one will be a little bit shorter, but I have a gripe with the NHL.
So Kuznetsov goes through contract termination process.
Yes. So he will terminate his contract with Carolina Hurricanes, and he will go to the KHL, and he's going to sign a 4-year deal.
Effectively, what that does is also erase the 3.9 million that is on Washington's books, who now have cap friendly. So now we have to look at Puckpedia.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong, Puckpedia is doing great.
I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing that Washington gets out of that as well as Carolina. However, why do the Capitals get all that money back and no punishment or anything like that? But when the Vancouver Canucks bought out Oliver Ekman-Larsson of his deal, the Coyotes got completely fucked because they had some salary retained on his contract.
That's a good point.
So my argument for that wouldn't necessarily be because buyout is different than a contract termination, that maybe the Coyotes don't get a cap penalty in terms of money, because the cap penalty wasn't really much of anything to begin with. What the big deal was they lost their retention slot for like the next 6 years.
Yeah.
Whereas the Capitals are going to get their retention slot back.
Well, they're probably going to need that when PLD leaves in the next 2 months.
Come on, you're being too hard. It'll probably stay at least 5.
I give him a week.
Weeks.
It's that SpongeBob episode. I gave him a week. I gave him 11 minutes.
See, I never, when I was like 6 years old, I never really got that, and then grew up and I was
Did you
like,
finally? Yeah, well, when you finally understood that the episode length is 11 minutes, it's such a great joke.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, no, don't get me wrong, I have no issue. So when I say I have a gripe with the NHL, it's not about anything involving this. I think it's just, this is a good example of what you should do. I don't understand why this doesn't lend itself to buyouts when a team has salary retention, because, sure, a contract termination is mutual between player and team, but the Capitals were not involved in this process the same way that the Coyotes were not involved in the Oliver Ekman buyout process, and they still got fucked.
Jay, I think this can be answered simply by asking you a question.
Who is the commissioner?
When has this league had precedence for any fucking thing? Anything. When has there ever been consistency other than when Brendan Shanahan was in charge of player safety?
Let me tell you. Let me talk to you about Colin Campbell.
That's Hockey Hall of Famer Colin Campbell to you. What a
No,
fucking disgrace this league is, man.
it's just it's stupid. It's just dumb.
I still can't believe this dude got inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Oh, I can.
Oh,
That sounds about right.
I'm sure he sent a couple of emails to make sure that happened.
No, I like to think that it was Greg. Like he was returning the favor.
It was great.
Yeah, reached out and was like, "You better put my dad in the hockey hall."
Do this for my dad. Jesus
Anyway.
Christ.
A couple of big extensions. One of them has happened. The other one has not happened. We'll get into the one that hasn't happened because this will take like 2 minutes to cover.
Sid is going to be finally well compensated.
Yes, he's going to get a big deal. He's going to be a Penguin for life. And this is the Pittsburgh Penguins doing right by their players. This usually doesn't end well, but I think it's a good way of conducting business. They gave Letang an extension a couple years ago. They gave Malkin an extension a couple years ago. To not give Sidney Crosby an extension would be fucking insane.
Now, the thing
said he fucking deserves this.
Yeah, good on Kyle for getting this done. And I mean, it's Sid.
Yeah.
There were rumblings before whatever, because could you imagine Sidney Crosby going anywhere else?
The only place I could see him is Colorado.
To play with Nate, right.
And that's it. That's it.
But no.
But yeah, ideally, he's a Penguin for life. As is Gino, as is Letang, and I'm certain at some point we'll see Marc-Andre Fleury sign a one-day deal with the Penguins to retire a Penguin as well, and you'll see those numbers and names in the rafters of PPG Paints Arena.
I like what Kyle did with what's gonna happen with this, because it's 4-ish years.
Yeah.
But what the thing with Sid was always, he took this consistent superstitious discount at 8.7, because obviously born August 7th of 87, wears 87 all the time. His contract number's got to have 8.7 in it. That's Sid.
Yeah.
He finally gets this pay bump to where he's going to be paid $10 million a season.
Yeah. As he should be.
Because he's well worth that.
It's such an interesting debate too, because when it's all said and done, this is an organization that's had Mario Lemieux and Jaromir Jagr, and yet still Sidney Crosby's going to have a case for maybe most impactful Penguin of all time. I still think it's Mario, but he can at least get a case.
It's Mario because he did it off ice as well.
So I agree. But at the same time, we talk about Mario rescuing the Penguins. You know who also rescued the Penguins? Sidney fucking Crosby when he went first overall.
Very true.
Immediately.
Very true.
It's funny because these two guys only played together one season and they didn't really play together much.
Right.
And yet they're still so unbelievably tied at the hip, aren't they?
66 and 87.
Yeah. So it's incredible. I'm happy for Sid. And the other one I'm happy about. Oh, dude, what a contract.
Quinton Byfield, bro.
That's a good deal.
I love Quinton Byfield.
Oh, I love his game. And I think he's done, the Kings have done a good job developing him. Some of these bigger guys take a little bit longer to develop. I mean, dude, 6.25 over 5 years. That's a good deal.
Yeah. That's it's one of those deals where you look at it and you it's not a steal. Right now it's not really a
I think
steal.
it is. I think it is.
I think it'll definitely look like more of a steal when we
It'll
get
look like more of a
couple.
steal in a year or two.
Yeah.
3 or 4 years, we'll be like, oh my god. But I still think it's a steal right now. I probably have him as a $7 million player right now.
I mean, he totally broke out this year. This was his coming out party in 23-24.
And it's only going to get better, you know?
The fact that he's doing this behind Anze Kopitar.
Yes, like you know, and it's funny because that's part of the rationale I think that the Kings had when they traded for Dubois was that, you know, one of these two guys is going to effectively replace Anze Kopitar, and you know, certainly the Dubois season was obviously negative for the LA Kings, and they had to get out of that contract. But the one positive is they got out of it was Quinton Byfield stepped up the plate.
And Rob Blake learned from his mistake of giving that much money to a guy like PLD.
Well, here's if he had given Quinton
I think Quinton would have been worth 8.4.
8 by 8.5, I think it was. Whatever
8.4 or something.
Yeah, if he had given him that contract, I still would like it. Honestly.
I was gonna say, like, I think Quinton is definitely more worth that than PLD is.
He's got a motor to him.
The kid Fly is out there.
Yeah.
He's just like, he's electric. And I will never forget the fantasy season.
Long reach, very strong, really good shot. Like there's a lot to like about his game. It's always cool when you see like a nice, smooth transition at a position, like the Rangers going from Henrik Lundqvist to Igor
Shesterkin, right?
You know, seeing the Kings go from Anze Kopitar to Quinton Byfield. That's nice. You know, that's nice. I like that. That's a good thing to enjoy.
I will never forget this past fantasy season. I've told this story on the show at least 3 or 4 times now, but I'm never going to get over this because it baffles my mind. Like, it gives me headaches. There was a trade proposal that happened on my fucking birthday.
I remember this, yeah.
Right? I had on my roster Quinton Byfield and Marco Rossi.
Mm-hmm.
This fucker. Do any of these fuckers know how to make a fantasy trade?
Real trade.
He wanted, I want to say either or both. I can't remember the trade off the top of my head. I want to say he wanted both. For Colton Sissons.
Yeah, I can't believe you turned that down.
Do you have Puckpedia up right now?
I do not, absolutely not.
Because let's take a look at Colton Sissons, why don't we?
Do we have to do this right now?
We're doing this right now.
Christ.
I'm like,
hey, you know, I wanted to make this a nice and short and sweet episode. You're like,
I told you that this never happens, and I'm gonna make
no, we're only like 15 minutes right now. We're doing well. You're turning this for no reason.
Dude, I'm so pissed off about that trade. I want to talk about it.
Well, you know what? You know what you should do? Take a deep breath, log on to BetterHelp, and tell them about that trade and get over it.
Get first month 10% off with code THPN.
So you can talk about all the Colton Sissons you want. I think that's basically it for
the last thing I wanted to talk about was Poor Kyle Okposo.
Yeah, what happened with this? Because you put this in there. I don't know what it is.
So I want to say this was yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
When, because God, there's a whole like the last couple of days over this last week were weird when it came to just technology being stupid.
Yeah.
Because this entire Windows crash
Yeah.
that happened for like a day.
Yeah.
And whatever the cyber whatever thing that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Cyber strike or whatever was trending. I can't remember the name of the thing.
Yeah.
Because that just blew up everybody's internet servers for like a day.
Yeah.
Because like I remember it affected our ability to do car side at work. We ended up having to take way more calls instead of like DoorDash and things.
Mm-hmm.
That also screwed up a lot of flights, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is the big tie-in with the story, right?
So it screwed up Kyle Okposo's day with the cup.
It screwed up Kyle Okposo's day with the cup. He was supposed to be, and I know this because my friend Grace, who's a Wild and a Kings fan, lives in Minnesota. I love her to death. Shout out, Grace.
So she's like a huge Brock Faber fan.
Oh, she loves Faber. Kyle was supposed to have his day with the cup in Minnesota, like around this local area that she knows, right?
Yeah.
And was supposed to have this little parade, and everybody was going to hang out, and it was going to be huge around the team store and all this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't show up.
That's so unfortunate. Oh man.
Something happened where I can't remember if it was he couldn't show up or Pritchard couldn't get there on time with the cup.
Mm-hmm.
But some fucked up. Thankfully, I do believe he's going to get his day with the cup. Because why would you not try to reschedule that?
Well, of course they would.
Right? I do think he actually did get his day yesterday. Because wasn't that Thursday when the outage happened?
I have no idea.
I can't remember. It's a time's a flat circle. It's your favorite thing to say.
Yep, it's exactly.
But like, what would happen if somebody didn't get their day with the cup? Like, what? How does that work?
Enough days in the summer that it would be damn near impossible for someone to not get their day with the cup.
Well, how many names got engraved on the cup this year? Like 30 something?
Yeah.
Because they put the 23-man roster on there.
Let's say it's 45. Okay.
Yeah.
More than 45 days in an off season. July 1st to 45 days is what, like mid-August?
That's fair.
So like they got more than enough time.
But I mean, you also like have to schedule like, you know, if international players are going to take it all the way back home, or, you know, I know Kachuk just had a big day in St. Louis, right? Like,
yeah.
So going from Kachuk to Kyle is an easy thing. Sure.
Sure.
But to go from like, I don't know, Kyle to
they also
say like E2 Luostarinen, right?
They probably also do it strategically so they have easier transfers early on.
Yeah.
Like if you think about it, like, hey, let's let our American players have it first, simply because we go here, the Canadians, and then Europe. Like, let's do that just to make it easier.
The Europeans can have it later in the summer, like.
Yeah, I don't know how they do it. Maybe I'm completely wrong, and I'm just coming up with a stupid theory. But
it's a solid theory. Like, it makes sense to just be like, okay, Canada gets it, the U.S. gets it. Canada keeps it.
It doesn't make much sense to have it be like, okay, Tarasenko, your day with the cup, have fun in Russia, and then it's like the next day, Matt Kachuk, let's get this back to St. Louis, and then it's like, let's go back to Finland. And it's like, no, like why are we going like all the way back and forth? Like, that doesn't make much sense.
Alex Barkov to Kyle Okposo. Wait, the flights aren't working. What's going on here?
Yeah. But I don't know. Maybe, getting wrong. Maybe they don't do that, but I think that's logical.
Yeah. I don't know, because, like, hell, I did planning for like a semester in college for like awards and recognition for my fraternity.
Nice.
So like I had to plan the awards banquet, and I had to do all this stuff, and I had to plan a couple of different big events. And remember, I'm a filmmaker. I'm not an event planner. Right? So like I wouldn't know how the NHL does this.
Well, I could also maybe make one last argument that maybe the NHL doesn't know how they do it either.
They don't know a lot of things that they're supposed to know. And we can say that
confidently. All right. You know what? We kept this, I think, to about an hour.
Yeah.
Proud of us.
Yeah.
I was paying attention.
See, because this whole time I was just like, we're not going to do this, because think about how we usually do this.
Yeah. No, I'm proud of us. Good work today. I'm going to go get some Red Robin.
Yum. Ooh, that actually sounds really good. I'm not going to lie to you. Oh, I love the mushroom Swiss burger.
Dude, the fries. I'm just gonna get like a shit.
Oh, big old basket of steak fries. Just like but yeah, I'm counting down to Foo Fighters, and I'm definitely going to be recapping it on our next show, because oh my god, I can't wait.
Yeah, absolutely, you have to.
And you know, we're gonna keep rolling with the off-season stuff. And Jackets fans, fifth line. Let's put one more pop culture reference in this. Patience is a virtue.
It is.
Let's pump the brakes a little bit on the coaching and the Kirills and the Line A's and all that fun stuff, eh?
I think that's very appropriate. That's what we should do.
Go out and enjoy some more of your summer, y'all. We'll be back.
Jake Jackets, a podcast for fifth liners and all puckheads around. Follow the guys on Twitter at Snake Gehringer, GARRINGER, and at by J Ashdown. And subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen. March on.